Hi, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're having a good Saturday. Okay, I can see people have joined, but they're connected now. Okay, so yeah, for those of us that are just are new today who haven't seen me before, so just as a quick intro, my name is Daniel. I'm a GCSE A-level maths tutor, and I run classes every week. So this is the foundation class. We've got an exam on Wednesday, so we're just gonna go through a few questions and see how we get on. Let me just check. Okay, so yeah, that person's letting. Yeah, cool. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna share my screen, and then we're just gonna make a start. So let me just share my screen. Just give me a sec. Okay, so we've got these here. So here's the first one. We'll do this one first. So have a go at this and see how you go. In the meantime, I'm just gonna just check the class just to see who hasn't joined or who's trying to get in. Okay, cool. Yeah. So have a go at that. See how you get on, and we'll go for it together. Okay, see someone else who's joined. A couple of us are joining. Okay, cool. Good afternoon to anybody that just joined a few moments ago. So just as a quick intro, actually, I can see someone else is just connecting. Okay, so good afternoon to everybody that's just joined. Just as a quick intro, my name is Daniel. I'm a GCSE and A-level maths tutor, and I run classes every week. So what we're doing today is obviously we've got paper 3 on Wednesday, next Wednesday. So we're just going to go through a couple of different questions, see how we get on. Now, I'm going to give you a chance to try it and so see how you get on with it. And then while I'm explaining it, if you have any questions, if you want to go for anything again, you're more than welcome to just drop me a message in the Zoom chat. So, for example, I can ask you guys a question. If you have an answer and you maybe don't want everybody else to see it, you can drop me a message directly, or if you don't mind, you can just drop it to everyone. Yeah? Okay, cool. So, let's start with this one. So we've got this here. Let me just move this out of the way. Sorry, one second. What is that there? So I'm just going to stop sharing for a second. I think there was something that glitched there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so yeah, we've got this here. Now looking at this one, it says, and I think it was 2 marks. Yeah, it was 2 marks. It just says work out the value of X. Yeah, so we've got a right angle triangle here. They've given us one side and we've got an angle. Can somebody tell me, please, what topic do we think this topic is referring to? This question. What topic is coming to mind when you see a right angle triangle with a side and angle? Could anybody have any suggestions? Thank you very much, Ebony. Trig. Yeah, it's definitely trigonometry for sure. Yeah. So how do we know it's trig though? Well, it's a right angle triangle for sure. And we have a side and there's an angle. The angle here, that's the key thing, right? This is definitely trig. More particularly, or in particular, it's Sokotoa, right? Okay. Now, how many of us are familiar with Sokotoa? Put a 0 if you don't know anything about Sokotoa, and put a 10 if you know exactly what Sokotoa is and how it works and how to use it. I want everybody to give me a number between 0 and 10, please. I've got a 0. I've got a 10. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So when you're dealing with Sokotoa, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a picture for you here. So looking at this here, right? Let's put this here. Now, for anybody that put a 0, looking at this, how familiar are we with this? Is there anybody here that's looking at this here and saying that, listen, I have no clue what this is. I have never seen this before in my life. Is there anybody that's looking at this here and saying that I've never seen this before? I want everybody just say yes or no. Are we all aware of this? Is this all familiar? Okay, okay. For anybody that's never seen this, just let me know in the chat what year you're in, because sometimes depending on, because this is a year 11 class, even though you're welcome to join if you're not. But if you're not in year 11, then maybe okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. This class is for year 11s, but you're more than welcome to join even if you're not in year 11. But this class is geared towards students doing the exam next week, Wednesday. So it makes sense that you haven't seen this before if since you're not in year 11. But no worries, no worries. I'll just go through it with you, with everyone. But yeah, so when you're dealing with trigonometry SOHCAHTOA, all you want to do is you want to label your sides. So we've got three sides here. There's the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse, right? That's what we call them. And now what you want to do is, depending on where your angle is, right, determines where they each go. So let's just have a read of it quickly. It says the opposite side is the side opposite the angle we know. So the angle we know in this diagram here is this one here. This is the angle we know. Now, if I draw a line which goes opposite it, the side that takes me to, we call the opposite side. Now, the next side is the adjacent. The adjacent side is the side next to the angle we know. So it's this one here. This is right next to this angle here. And another way I like to remember it is that it's always the side in between the right angle and the angle in question. Yeah? Now, the last side is the hypotenuse. This is the diagonal side. This is the easiest side. It's the longest side, and it's the side opposite the right angle. So the first things first, when you're dealing with SOHCAHTOA, the first thing that you want to be able to do is label your diagram correctly. That is the first thing before anything. So it's just labeling at the moment. Yeah. So let's label this one here. Right. Well, from what we've just seen, we know that we get our angle. This is the angle that we know. I'm gonna write angle here. Right. This is 35 degrees. We draw a line opposite it. That side that takes me to would be the opposite side. So we're going to label this as the opposite side. This is the opposite side. And remember, the side, let me actually put this here because I'm going to label that, to be fair. The side next to the angle is the adjacent. So this one here is the adjacent, right? And this is in between the right angle and the angle. And then the last side is the hypotenuse. This is the side which is opposite the right angle. So now we've successfully labeled our right angle triangle. Does that make sense, guys? As a start, I'm just going to wait for everybody just to say yes or no, just so it's clear. Is that all clear, guys? I'm going to wait for anybody just to say yes or no, just so that we're all clear with that. Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Okay, now that you've labeled your right angle triangle, what you want to do now is apply SOH, CAT, and TOA. So let's go back to our descriptions of each of them. Okay. It says we could use the following trigonometric functions to calculate the sides. Use SOHCAHTOA to remember them. So you've got these three formulas here, right? And you use these three formulas, right? Depending on what you have, what's given to you in the question to determine which one you use, right? And you use this acronym SOHCAHTOA to help you remember it. So let's just see how this works very quickly. You're going to break it down into three parts: SOH, CA, and TOA. Now, looking at this one here, this one here, as you can see from this diagram, can you see which letters are highlighted? S, O, and H. Why? Because all that means is that the sine of the A, which is the angle, is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse, and so on and so forth, right? That's how you read the acronym, yeah? And then obviously the same thing, it's C, A, and H highlighted. CA, cosine of the angle is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and TOA, TOA, which is highlighted, TOA, same thing. Tan of the angle is equal to opposite over adjacent, yeah? So now, what you're going to do is once you're familiar with this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this here, right? When you're dealing with this one here, and you're trying to figure out a side using SOHCAHTOA, you have to ask yourself two questions. You have to ask yourself two questions, right? So this is the formulas here. The first question is, which side do we know? This is question number one. Can somebody tell me, please? Two things. Tell me the distance of the side that we know, and the word? Is it the opposite half or adjacent? Can somebody tell me in the chat, please? Exactly. Thank you very much, Mafaro. It's definitely the opposite side. And it's 20. Yeah. So I'm going to write opposite is equal to 20 for sure. Right? Cool. And then after, we've got the next one here. It says, da, 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 which, the next question, so I should say, is which side are we trying to find? Trying to find. So can you guys tell me in the chat, which side are we trying to find? That's the next question. So this is question number one, question number two. Exactly. Thank you very much. Faro, it's definitely X, it's the hypotenuse, right? So we're going to do this here. We're going to do height. This is equal to X. So now we've answered these two questions. The next question is, which out of SOT Krakatoa do we choose, right? So question number three, put this here. Out of SOT, Ha, and Toa, which one do we pick? Or which one do we choose? And the answer to this question depends on the answers to questions one and two. So I want everybody to tell me out of sort, cat, and tower that you can see here, which one, so this is it right here, which one are we using? Are we using the first one, sort, the second one, cat, or the last one, tower? Easy, easy. Thank you very much, Ebony. It's sort, isn't it? It's sort because we have the opposite and we're looking for the hypotenuse for sure. So it's definitely so, right? So now you just write out that formula. Well, remember the angle was equal to what was it? 35. Yeah. The opposite is equal to 20. The hypotenuse is x. So therefore, sine of the angle is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. We'll plug in everything that we know. We get sine of the angle, which is 35, is equal to 20 over x. Yeah. So now we've got this here. Remember, the question asks us to find the value of x. So we need to solve this equation. Yeah. How do we solve this equation though? Well, we're trying to get x, right? And x is on the bottom here. Yeah. Now, whenever you see x on the bottom here, when you see something like this as a fraction, all you need to do is to just literally swap these over. Just swap them round. Yeah. That's all you need to do. Swap them round. The x will go here. The sine 35 will go here. And we can see clearly now that x is just equal to 20 divided by sine 35. Yeah? So all you're going to do now is put this into your calculator. Let me get my calculator up. So it'll just be 20 divided by sine 35. This is equal to 34.86, blah, blah, blah. Now, they didn't give us a degree of accuracy. If they don't, always round it to three significant figures. So this is just the same as one decimal place in this case. So it'll just be 34.9 degrees. Does it make sense, guys? Anybody get that correct? I'm going to make sure we're all okay with this. For anybody just say yes or no, just so that they're all okay with this in the middle. Okay, understandable if you're seeing this for the first time. Once you just practice this a couple of times, it should be okay for sure. But we're going to do a similar example for the next one. Yeah. So that's one. That's one type of question that they can ask you. And well done, Ebony, for getting it correct. Well done. Yeah. That's one type of question that they can ask you in the exam. Finding a missing side. Now, the other type of question they can ask you dealing with trigonometry is finding a missing angle, right? That's another type of question they can ask you. However, you follow the exact same steps. The first thing that you want to do when you're trying to figure out an angle, or sorry, anything in trigonometry SOHCAHTOA, you label your triangle. Now, remember, you look at your angle here. This angle is X. That's what we're trying to find. You draw a line from X all the way opposite it. The side that takes you to, will you label the opposite side? Now this one here, the side in between the right angle and the angle in question is always the adjacent. Yeah. And then remember the side opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. So now we've done step number one. We've labeled our right angle triangle correctly. Now, when you're trying to figure out an angle, they will always give you two sides. Yeah, they will always give you two sides. But even if you're not aware of that, you still follow the same steps. What is question one here? Question one here is which side do we know? Well, in this case, there are two sides that we know. Can somebody tell me, please, what are the names of the sides that we know? It's very straightforward, but I want to ask you guys anyway because it's very important. It's very critical that we get this part correct. So, can somebody tell me the actual names? Exactly. Thank you very much, Mafara. Fantastic. It's the adjacent and the hypotenuse for sure. So we can say, well, the adjacent, right, is equal to 16. The hypotenuse is equal to 24, right? So what's happening here is, remember, you get these three questions here. Now, because we're not looking for a side in this case, you're only just going to do question one and question three. It only becomes two questions, right? Because the answer to question one, let me move this down here, is this. Yeah? We know this one. This is question number one. And then this one here, question three. Out of sock, and Toa. So this becomes question two now. So let me just copy this here. So now we're on question two. So my question to you guys now is out of sock, and Toa, which one do we choose? Let me just remind you of the three options here. So we've got this here, and I'm gonna write the acronym SOHCAHTOA again. So, Ka, and Toa. Now, I want you guys to all tell me which one do you think we use. Are we using So? Are we using Ka? Or are we using Toa? Exactly, exactly. Thank you very much, Ebony. It's Ka. Why is it Ka, though? Why is it Ka? Because remember, Ka has an A adjacent, which we have right here. This is adjacent. And a H hypotenuse, which we have right here, hypotenuse. So it has to be this one. Now, does this make sense, guys? Is this clear? This is very critical. Are we all okay with this? It's definitely cat we're using. Good, good. So then now what do we say? Well, cat is the one in the middle. Cosine of the angle is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Now the angle, remember, is what we're trying to find. The angle is x. This is the angle here. So therefore, it just becomes cosine of x is equal to the adjacent side, which is 16, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 24. So therefore, we have this. Yeah? Now remember, we're trying to calculate what x is, the angle. Now we have this here. This is x right here. We need to get x on its own. Remember, when we're solving an equation, we need to get x by itself. So having a look at this, guys, having a look at this, anybody have any ideas how I get rid of this cosine here? Anybody, can anybody tell me how I do that? Have a think about it. We've got cos here. I've got answer. Right, right. Thank you very much, Ebony. Fantastic. Yeah. We have to take the cos inverse. Yeah. To get rid of this. To get rid of a cosine or a sine or a tan, we need to do cos -1. And it's just the shift button on your calculator. So you're just going to do this to both sides. What will happen is that you have x here, and then you're going to do cos inverse 16 over 24. And I get my calculator and it'll look like this. Like this. Cos inverse of 16 over 24. This is equal to 48.18, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think they gave us any degree of accuracy, so we're just going to round it to three significant figures. So the answer would just be 48.2 degrees to 3SL. Does that make sense, guys? And that's pretty much the overall summary of trigonometry in the exam that you can get. They can either ask you to figure out a side, right? Or they can ask you to calculate an angle. Both ways are pretty similar, but once you practice it a couple times, it's perfectly okay. How do we feel about that? Put a 0 if you're looking at this thinking this is still very confusing, don't know what to do, confused. and put a 10 if this is making a lot of sense. I feel like if I did more examples of this, this would be perfectly okay. Yeah, 7. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Brilliant, good stuff. Okay, so some people started at a 0, now they're at 7. Fantastic. Yeah, so we've done that. Now let's continue. So we've got this here now. Got this here. It's 3 marks, so I'll give you about 3 minutes to try it and see how we get on. So give you about 3 minutes, see how you get on, and we'll go through it together. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the class, just reply to any messages just to see how everybody's getting on. Okay. I'm just responding to just messages. Let me just see. Da, da, da. Okay. Okay. So having a look at this here, I'm just looking at the chat. How do we find this? I can see some of us have no clue how to go about this, but overall, we're about to go for it now. I just want to just see overall how we're all feeling. Is this a 0? Don't know how to go about this. Is this a 10? This is super, super easy. What are our thoughts on this one? Okay. Is it 0, 2? Okay, cool, cool. So let's read it together. It says a sphere has a radius of 6.4 times 10 to the power of 6 meters. Calculate the volume of this sphere. Give your answer to Give your answer in standard form to one decimal place. Okay. Well, the first thing that we need to know with a question like this is we need to be familiar with standard form in general. Now, what is the format of standard form? So what I'm going to do just very briefly, I'm just going to go to one of my foundation classes of when I taught this. I think it was in November, standard form. Yep. Perfect. Yeah. This is the general format of standard form, right? So let me just go back to the lesson today, 10th of June. Perfect. So having a look at this, guys, I want you guys to tell me from on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being I've never seen this before in my life, and 10 being and I've seen this before. At this, I'm very familiar with this type of question, this setup. I want you guys to all tell me how familiar you are with this here. I want everybody to give me a number between 0 and 10. Okay. Okay. I can see a 0, I can see an 8. As I said before, if you're not in year 11, then there's a lot of topics that maybe you haven't done yet, which is understandable, but we're gonna go through it together anyway. So now this is standard form here. Now, this is just a way of writing a number that can be very big sometimes. Yeah. Now, remember, we've got this 10 to the power of 9, right? Well, this just means that this is has 9 zeros at the end of it. That's a very large number. It's quite long to write 9 zeros. So we use standard form to write the same number that's very large in a concise way, and we can deal with it better. That's the overall summary of standard form. So for us to answer the question, we need to be able to understand that, which we now do. So let's look at the question. It says a sphere has a radius of 6.4 times 10 to the 6 meters. Calculate the volume of this sphere. Well, we've got in the big box here a formula for the volume. So what's the issue, guys? We just plug in the value of R. The volume of a sphere is 4 over 3 times pi R cubed. We know that R is equal to 6.4 times 10 to the power of 6. Yeah? So in this case, the volume will be 4 over 3 pi and then R cubed, right? So now if I plug that in, it will be 4 over 3 pi. And then remember, this here is R, this one is R2, yeah? So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to replace this like this. 6.4 times 10 to the power of 6, all to the power of 3. Does that make sense, guys? That looks like a 64, by the way. Let me move that to 6.4. Does that make sense, guys? I just want to make sure we're all okay with this just before we continue. This is very important. All I've done is that I've just substituted that number in. Yeah? Okay. Now this is, it says give your answer the standard form to one decimal place. So all you're going to do is just put this into your calculator and see what it gives you. And sometimes, if the number is big enough, it may actually give it to you in standard form and you don't even need to do anything. So let's put this in. It's going to be 4 over 3. 4 over 3. Let me just move this up a bit here. 4 over 3. And then pi. And then it's going to be 6.4 times 10 to the power of 6 to the power of 3. Power of 3. So 4 over 3 pi 6.4 times 10 to the 6 to the power of 3. This is equal to this right here. Can you see? Remember, look at our standard form format. A number, which must be in between, I should have said before, it must be between 1 and 10 when you're in standard form. And then this is 10 and it's still an integer. Can you see that calculator actually gives us this question? It gives us the answer in standard form. So now we paste this here. Paste this here. So we can see this is our answer here. And now because it says to one decimal place, all you're going to do is you're just going to round the decimal part to one decimal place. Can somebody tell me in the chat, please, what is that to one decimal place? Exactly. Thank you very much, Mafaro. It's just 1.1. So the answer is just 1.1 times 10 to the power of 21. That's it. That's it. Does that make sense, guys? And all I've done here, just to clarify again, all I've done is I've just literally substituted this here. Remember, R, and anything you see in yellow on the screen is the exact same thing. Anything you see in yellow. So the fact that I've replaced R with this is because they are equal. That's all I've done. Yeah? Okay. Okay. Cool. So we're gonna continue. What I'm gonna do, if anyone else is still a bit stuck, I'm gonna just drop you messages just to make sure you're okay. But as I said before, there's a probably topic you haven't done yet, so it's understandable. But anyways, let's continue. So we've done that one. Okay. Now now we've got algebra to do. Got this here. Okay. So this here, algebra, part A. Uh Expand and simplify 5x plus 2, 2x minus 3, and factorize x squared plus 4x plus 3. For 4 marks, I'll give you a couple of minutes to try it, see how you get on. In the meantime, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just drop a couple of messages in the chat just to see how we're all getting on. How are we all getting on with this one, by the way? Put a 0 if you're very stuck, very confused, and put a 10 if you find it's very, very straightforward and easy. Okay, I can see a 5. Good stuff. Keep continuing. See how you get on. Give you guys about a minute more and we'll go through it together. Okay, okay. How are we all getting on? Has anybody got an answer for part A or for part B? Are we still working it out? Let me know in the chat just so I know if you guys are ready for me to go through it. So I'm just gonna wait for anybody to say yes or no, just so that you guys are ready for me to go through it. Okay, cool, cool. So let's go through it. So the first part says expand and simplify 5x plus 2, bracket 2x minus 3. Now these are always 2 marks. You get the first mark for expanding correctly. So let me just write out again. And you get the second mark for simplifying, collecting the like terms. So the first part, let's expand. We have to use the formula method if we're expanding something like this. So it'll be 5x times 2x, which is 10x squared. And then it'll be 5x times minus 3, which is minus 15x. And then we've got 2 times 2, which is 4x. 2 times 2x, so which is 4x. And then we've got the 2 times the minus 3, which is minus 6. Let me just tidy this up a bit because it looks a bit weird. That should be a 2x here. Yeah, perfect. Now we're currently at 1 mark out of 2. Yeah. How do we get the second mark? Well, we need to collect the like terms, right? Now, looking at this here, well, I've got an x here, a 4x, and I also have an x here, minus 15x. So these two terms are alike. Now, be very careful. This one, although it has an x here, it is not alike due to the fact that it has a 2 at the top corner. This is an x squared term. X squareds, x squared and x, right, are not like terms. Be very careful. Yeah. So the only two terms that I can combine are the ones in yellow because they both have x's. Yeah. So that would mean that, well, this would stay the same, 10x squared, and then this will be minus 6. And then all we're going to do now is figure out what minus 15x plus 4x is. Can somebody tell me what that is in the chat? Minus 15x plus 4x. Remember, when you're doing this, all you're working out is just the numbers in front. Minus 15 plus 4, this is just equal to negative 11. So it's just negative 11x. Yeah? And thank you very much, Ebony. Fantastic. Exactly. So then your final answer is 10x squared minus 11x minus 6. Anybody get this correct? If so, well done. Let's go on to the next one. Okay. So the next one says factorize x squared plus 4x plus 3. Now, it's a factorization question, and this expression here has a name. Does anybody know the name of this type of expression? Give you a hint. I'm going to highlight this power of 2 here. Does anybody know the type of expression this is called? I'm going to give a couple of seconds. Exactly. Thank you very much, Ebony. This is a quadratic expression. This is a quadratic. Since this is a quadratic, let me put this here. And it's asking us to factorize a quadratic. We have to do this in a very specific way. You're going to do x squared plus 4x plus 3. You're going to write out here. And then you're going to highlight two things. You're going to highlight the number at the end, which is a plus 3. Notice that I'm highlighting the plus because that's part of the number. And then this one here is a plus 4. Plus 4, sorry. Yeah? You look for two factors of this number, which also add to give this number. Can somebody tell me then, what are two factors of 3, which also add to make 4? Can somebody tell me in the chat? Two factors of 3, which also add to make 4. A couple of seconds. Exactly. Thank you very much, Ebony. It's just 1 and 3, right? 1 times 3 gives us 3. That's correct. Factors. 1 plus 3 gives us 4. Add. Perfect. So it's definitely these two. So all you do now is you say, well, you're going to do two brackets like this. Because it's x squared here, you're going to have an x here, and you're going to have an x here. And then now, all you're going to do is you're just going to put the factors in, like this. So therefore, it will just be x plus 1 plus 3. They're both positive, so that's why it's plus 1 and plus 3. And that's your answer. Does that make sense, guys? Anybody have any questions on any of those two? Anybody get full marks? Let me just zoom out so you can see everything. This all clear? Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, cool. Cool. So I'm not seeing any message in the chat, so I'm assuming this is all okay. So I'm going to continue. Okay, so we've done that. We've done that. Let's have a go at this one here and see how we get on. So we'll do part B together because there's a graph. Obviously, you're not going to be able to draw the graph, but yeah, we'll do it together. And yeah, I'll give you a chance to do part A, right? It's only 1 mark, so I'll give you about a minute, and then I'll ask you guys for your answers in a second. Let me just get up again. So let me get it myself. Oops, I don't mean to do that. Copy this here, and then paste this here. And then got this here. Cool. So yeah, this is the next one. The part A is complete the table for 1 mark. I'm going to give you about a minute to try it. You can use your calculator, see how you get on, and yeah, we'll go through it in a minute. How are we all getting on, by the way, with completing tables like this? When they give us a function and they tell us to plug in the values of x to get y. Put a 0 if you're stuck, don't know what to do. This is very confusing. And put a 10 if this is super, super easy. You see threes so far. So that's your scale from 0 to 10, right? So on the scale of 0 to 10, you're on a 3. Okay, cool. So then, yeah, let's go through it now. It's been about a minute. So all you're doing with this one, guys, is very, very easy. We have y is equal to x squared minus 2. All you're doing with this one is you're just going to, can you see we've got x here? These are the value of x. This here is when x is equal to -3. So to figure out what y is, you're going to plug in x equals -3 into your formula, right? So if I do x equals -3, like this, then it will be y is equal to -3 all squared minus 2, yeah? Now, if I put this here, put this into my calculator. To be fair, you can do this without, but if you have a calculator, which you will do for paper 3, then why not? This will give us 7, yeah? So when x equals -3, y is equal to 7. So we're just going to put 7 there, yeah? 7. And then now the next one is when x equals 2. So we're just going to replace -3 with 2, aren't we, to get the next one? Hold on, let me just do this here. Do this here. This will give us 2 here. 2 squared. 2 squared minus 2. This is just equal to 2. So we put a 2 there. And the last one is when it's 3. This is also 7. So therefore, our 3 missing values are 7, 2, and 7. Does that make sense, guys? Is that all clear? Is that all clear? Trying to make sure I'm going to wait for anybody just to say yes or no, so I know that we're all happy to continue. Is that all okay? Yeah? Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I can see there's a different way. Uh I think maybe what you mean for Ayan that said that, I think there's a way that you can do it quickly on your calculator, which allows you to plug in the table. Is that what you mean? Yeah, yeah. Mode setup free table. Let me actually do that. Mode, if I go to setup and then three, is it? I don't think it's this. Oops, let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back before I mess up my calculator. Mode, is it is it menu? Oh, you know what? You know what? Yeah, there's a way. What I'll do is I'll figure out how to do it and then I'll let you guys know for sure. Mode 4. Oh, is it number 4? No, these are for matrices. Okay. Okay, don't worry. There's another way. I'll probably do a YouTube video on it to be fair. But thank you for that. And yeah, so you've got this here. Now we've plotted our table, right? What you want to do now is draw the graph for part B. Now, for this question here, right? We know that this is a quadratic because it's a square, as we did in the last one. Now, can somebody tell me though? Remember, we're trying to draw the graph of this, y equals x squared minus 2. It's a quadratic. We need to know what a quadratic generally looks like because we should be able to track and see if we're on the right track, right? Can somebody tell me the letter in the alphabet which resembles a quadratic graph? Does anybody know it? There's a letter in the alphabet. Exactly. Thank you very much, Ebony. It's a U shape. A quadratic has two forms. A U shape. This is when x squared is positive, or it could be the other way around. I kind of think it as this is a smiley face, this is a frown. Yeah. This is minus x squared when the x squared term is negative. Yeah. Obviously, in our case, x squared is positive, so it's going to be a smiley face. So that's just something to bear in mind when you're sketching a graph. You should know what the outcome would be, right? So let's plot our points now. Let's plot our points and let's see what we have. So we've got got to plug in -3. -3 is x, 7 is there, so that's going to be around there for sure. And then -2, 2 is around there, so it's going to be there. And then -1, 1, x equals -1 is there, -1 is there, around there. And then we've got 0, 2, which is here. And then we've got 1, -1, which is right here. Then we've got 2, 2, 2, 2, which is right here. And then we've got 3, 7, which is here. Yeah. And can you see if I connect those coordinates together, that will definitely give me a U shape, right? So obviously I'm sure you guys can draw better than me, so bear with me when I do this. Like this, like this here, like this, and then like this pretty much. Yeah. And can you see this is definitely a U shape? And then you say to yourself, okay, well, this is definitely correct. Why? Due to the fact that I know that an a quadratic has a smiley face shape anyway. Yeah, the direction of it is a curve, a smiley face. This is definitely correct. Does that make sense, guys? Anybody have any questions on that? Just want to make sure all okay with that just before we continue. Anybody have any questions whatsoever? I'm going to give a few seconds just in case anybody wants to drop a message in the chat about anything. Okay, cool, cool. Okay, so let's continue now and see how we get on. So we've done that one. Let's do this one here. Let's do a ratio problem. So we got this here. Let's have a go at this one and see how we get on. So Jeff and Kaz shared £270 in the ratio of 2.6 to 1. How much more than Kaz does Jeff get? So have a go at that. Give you 3 minutes to try it. See how you get on, and we'll go through it together. How are we getting on with this one? This one, there's a decimal in the ratio, so it can be a bit off-putting or it can throw you off a bit. But just remember, the principle remains the same, right? So what do we think about this one? Put a 0 if you're looking at this thinking, I don't know what to do, very confused. And put a 10 if you're thinking this is super easy. I want you guys to give me a number between 0 and 10, please, in the chat, just so I know how you guys are getting on. Okay, okay. So for anybody that's on a bit of a 0, right? I'm going to okay, 0, 1, fair enough, fair enough. So this one is a little bit, it seems a bit tricky, but it's the exact same thing that you do with any ratio, right? Jeff think has shared £270 in the ratio of 2.6 to 1. So remember, ratios are just splitting a quantity into parts, right? So this part here tells me that I have 2.6 parts for this part here. And this part here tells me that I have one part here, right? So in total, how many parts would I have? This is in parts, right? This is another part. So in total, I have 2.6 plus 1, which is equal to 3.6 parts. Yeah? So what does that tell me then? Remember, when you're dealing with ratios in general, you write how many parts there are, and this is always going to equal the total amount because you're splitting it into a ratio. So we can say that 3.6 parts, right, must be equal to £270. Do you agree with that, guys? Or if anybody just say yes or no, is that clear? It's the same as normal ratios. The only difference here is that we're dealing with a decimal, but it's the exact same thing. Yeah, good. So now, what do you do next? Well, if I have a certain amount of parts, then that will allow me to calculate what one part is, right? Because I've got a 3.6 here. I want to get this to a 1. How do I go from 3.6 to 1, guys? Can somebody tell me in the chat? Remember, when we're dealing with this type of thing here, when we've got a certain amount of parts is equal to something else, we need to either multiply or divide. Exactly, exactly. We need to divide. Thank you very much, Ayan Ali. We need to divide both sides by 3.6. Yeah? 3.6. So therefore, one part would be equal to whatever 270 divided by 3.6 is. So let's check. 270 divided by 3.6. This is equal to £75, right? So therefore, one part is equal to £75, and we know that that's how many parts Kaz got. So how much more than Kaz does Jeff get? Yeah. So we know that Kaz has one part, so for sure Kaz has £75, right? And then to be honest, there's two ways you can do it. Well, the other part was 2.6. So what you could say to yourself is, well, how do I go from 1 to 2.6 parts? You just times both sides by 2.6, don't you? Times by 2.6. So therefore the answer will be 75 times 2.6 here. So let's do this on the calculator. 75 times 2.6. That's going to be 75 times 2.6 is equal to £195. Yeah? Oops, I don't know why I have it sign there. This should be £195. Yeah? So we now know how much money Jeff gets, right? Jeff gets £195. Kaz gets 75. The question asked us, how much more than Kaz does Jeff get? Well, you just take the difference between these two numbers, and that's just going to be 120, isn't it? 195 minus 75, right? Will just give you 120. Let me put the pound sign in. Yeah, this will give you £120. Does that make sense, guys? And that's our final answer. We all clear with that? I'm gonna just zoom out so we can see all of the working out. But remember, it's the exact same thing here. It's just ratios, what we normally used to, but there's a decimal. But the principle remains the same. You figure out the amount of parts, make it equal to the total, divide that to get one part times by the different parts of the ratio. Same thing. They've just put a decimal here to confuse you, to trick you, but it's the same. Yeah. Okay. Not seen any messages, so I'm assuming that's all okay. Let's do one hard one. So let's see. Done that. Let's do this one. This is our I think we've pretty much actually gone through actually, to be fair. We've got this one here now to do. And before quickly, let me just tidy that up to be fair. Where is it? This shouldn't be here. Copied it twice. Okay, cool. So yeah, now have a go at this one, guys. This is 5 marks. Yeah, have a go at it. See how you get on. How are we all getting on with this one? Put a 0 if you're very confused, very stuck. Put a 10 if you're finding this very, very easy, very, very straightforward. I'm going to give you about 3 more minutes. Okay. Okay. So I can see a 0. Fair enough. I'm gonna just drop a message just so we can hop out anywhere so we're stuck. give you about a minute more. Okay, okay. Does anybody have an answer for this one just before we go through it? If so, put it in the chat. I'm gonna go through it with you guys. So it says ADC is a triangle. It says AED and ABC are straight lines. EB is parallel to DC. Angle EBE is 148, angle ADC is 63, and we need to work out the size of angle EAB. Well, angle EAB is this one here, right? This is the angle EAB for sure. I'll call this X. Now, for me, looking at this question, because I want to work out that angle there, and to be honest, I can see a triangle here. If I highlight all of these sides on the outside, I get a triangle here. For me, if I can figure out angles in that triangle somehow, some way, then I can work towards figuring out what X is because angles in a triangle add up to 180. If I could figure out what these two angles are here, right, then I can just add them up, take them from 180, and that will give me X. Does that make sense, guys? To make sure we're all okay with that. Is that a good way? Does that make sense as a start off? For anybody just to say yes or no just before I continue. Yeah? Good. Good. Okay. Now, the first thing that I can see, which is glaring to me, is that I have an angle here, right? This is one of the other angles in the triangle, and it's on a straight line. This is a straight line here. Can somebody remind me what angles on a straight line add up to? What do angles on a straight line add up to? Exactly. Thank you very much, Ebony. Angles on a straight line add up to 180. Thank you very much, Mafaro. Angles on a straight line add up to 180. So therefore, I can calculate this angle here by saying, well, angles on a straight line, add to 180. Yeah? Add to 180. So therefore, I can say, well, that angle there will just be equal to, for example, if I called this, I don't know y, then it will just be y is equal to 180 minus 148, right? And what is that equal to? That will just be equal to 32, wouldn't it? Right? 32. So that angle there is 32. Now we're halfway done because this angle is 32 degrees, right? If I can calculate this one now, I can add on that to 32, take it away from 180, and we're finished. We do it in a different color, to be fair. Do it in a pink. Do it in this one here. Now, we have parallel lines, right? This is a standard case of an angles and parallel lines question. So when you're doing these types of questions, you need to be aware of your rules, right? So I'm just going to get something up very quickly just before we complete the solution. So parallel lines here. So I did this topic with my students a couple of months ago in September now. Time flies, doesn't it? But yeah, I'm going to put this on our whiteboard here, which is right here. Yeah. And then I'm going to ask you guys on a scale of 0 to 10, looking at these rules here, put a 0 if you've never seen these before, don't know them, and put a 10 if you're looking at this thinking this makes perfect sense. I know these all very well. You can see a 5. Any other numbers, guys? You can see a 6. Okay. So yeah. So when you're dealing with these types of questions, 0, fair enough. When you're dealing with these types of questions, you need to know these rules very, very well, right? They won't give this to you in the exam. So we've got a couple here. When you're doing questions, you just need to ask yourself which rule is applicable. Now, looking at the question here, I'm going to copy this one here. Can we see, right? I'm going to paste this here. Let me paste it underneath. To be fair, I paste it here. Whoops, I pasted the entire thing twice. So let me just, I just want that one. Can you see, what does this one say? Let's read it. Corresponding angles occur when the transversal line crosses two parallel lines. The pair of angles are formed on the same side of the transversal. So forget about that word. That's just a fancy word. The most important thing that you're dealing with here is that when you have corresponding angles, you're able to create some F shape, an F letter. Yeah? Can you see the letter F like this? Can you see the letter F like this? So if you can create a letter F, then the two angles in the corners are always the same. And can you see we could do that exactly here? This here is an F. Can you see? I'll do it out here again so it's clear. Be like this. Can you see? This one is 63 degrees, right? And this is also a parallel line. These two are parallel. So this angle must be 63 too. So that angle there is 63. Does that make sense, guys? Based on the rule that I just said. Yeah? I want everybody just to put yes or no, just so they're all clear. This is corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. Yeah, good stuff. So if that's 63 and that's 32, then we're in a position to calculate angle X because we know that angles in a triangle add up to 180. So angle X will just be 180 minus 63 minus the 32, wouldn't it? So we put this in here. So into the calculator. 180 minus 63 minus 32. This gives us 85 degrees. Yeah? So X is equal to 85. Does that make sense, guys? So make sure we're all okay with this. Is that all clear? Okay, cool. I'm not seeing any messages in the chat, so I assume that's all okay. Cool. So we'll round it up. Just before you guys go, I just want to say thank you very much for joining. I hope you found it beneficial. For those of us that have our exam next week, Wednesday, good luck to you. So final exam. I'm sure you're going to do really well. Just between now and then, just make sure you just keep revising, keep practicing past paper questions, and you guys will be fine. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to just show you my YouTube. So uh, what I'm going to upload this lesson onto my YouTube channel. I'm going to do it at some point today. So if you want to watch it again, then you're more than welcome to. I did a free class last week as well, which I uploaded here for foundation, one for higher, one for A-level maths. So I've done free classes again. I'm going to upload them also. If you want to watch the foundation one, if you know anybody that'll be interested in watching the higher class or the A-level maths class again, then feel free to share my YouTube with them. I'm also on TikTok as well, which is here. Should load. I'm on TikTok, Maths with Dan. I'm also on Instagram as well. So if you want to follow me, you're more than welcome to. Should load? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, cool. So we'll leave it there. Good luck again for your exams, for those of us that have it. And yeah, I'm sure I'll see you guys soon. Take care.